Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Brendon.
Here's the thing. This is going to be our last episode of Out of the Aether while we take a little summer break for ourselves.
Yes.
You and I are going to take the month of June off and a little bit of July. We'll probably be back with this show sometime towards the end of July. That said, I'm just curious, and this is going to be a very loose conversation. Usually, these are all so focused, usually, like the last one. Oh, how do puzzle games manage fun versus frustrate? All these like deep ideas. This one's very simple. Just what are you excited to play? I'll say this. Little peek behind the curtain, I guess, maybe. The pressure of playing stuff for the show is light for the most part because we're allowed to play whatever we want. It's one of the beautiful things about Into the Aether is like, we're, as we say constantly, we're not beholden to new video game releases. And yet, we do need to have something to talk about on the show every week. So there is like a little bit of like you have to do your homework, you have to eat your vegetables a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if removed from that, if there's anything that you're like really stoked about. Is there anything that you're like, oh man, I only got a couple hours into this, I'm dying to go back, or like this is a thing that's been lingering over my head for a while, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have opened my backlog on backlog.com.
Shout out to Backlogged.
It's great. And I'm looking at my bizarre collage here. And it truly is. You will regret asking me this question.
I'm excited.
I mean, there's the obvious ones. Like I think this year opened with such great giant RPGs between like Dragon Infinite Wealth, Persona 3 Reload, Dragon's Dogma 2, FF7 Rebirth. I know we have more complicated feelings on, but I still am excited to see more of that game. Like I love those characters enough that the game could just be Pong, and if they're like somewhere in the background, I'll be engaged. Right. No shade on Pong, of course. But I'm gonna bring up ones that maybe aren't on the show as often to give something, to give this Out of the Aether episode a bit more excitement,
a bit more juice.
Punch
it, Steven.
That is such a non sequitur is Star Fox 2. I just
okay.
This is totally. I don't even know if I'm gonna like it, but it's on the bizarre like Super Nintendo Switch collection.
Yeah,
and I think it previously wasn't released in the US until that like Super Nintendo like bundle that you like bought the system that had a bunch of games already in it. And then it was released later on the Switch Online. So like just a weird enough release schedule that I'm like, what is this? Because one of the things that I like doing on this show is like being an archaeologist for Star Fox. Like what happened? what do I even want from this series if it were to come back?
Yeah.
And this feels like it could be the missing link. So this is just more morbid curiosity than genuine interest. The other one, of course, is the Trails series. I've been loving Trails from Zero.
Yeah.
And I think I definitely would like to start seeing more of the Trails games. Like I played enough of Trails in the Sky to know that I'll probably love that little Sky trilogy as well. And I want to experience that so I have the full context for later games. But I'm also drawn to the fighting in the battle system in Cold Steel and also like the Persona element as well. So I'm like not sure where I want to go next, but at the very least I want to do the little cross-spell duology of Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to putting more time into that. Pokemon Unbound I've been really enjoying playing.
How good
as well.
is that game?
It's so good. And a few more that I want to hear from you.
Sure.
A game that I brought to the show around when we went to PAX recently, PAX East, was One Shot, which is a wonderful game from a few years ago. That's like kind of, I don't want to compare it to Undertale in terms of like limiting its inspirations. I think it's doing something unique from Undertale, but it's definitely going after a similar meta fourth wall breaking story, and it just feels like something that you should see through all the way. Given the title and given like what it's all leading up to. But I'm about halfway through and I already really love it. So that's one. And then two more. Another game that I've been really enjoying for our GameCube prep is Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, which is, I feel like I have more experience and probably more reverence for Animal Crossing over Harvest Moon. I do really like Harvest Moon, but I haven't found like the one. Like the one for me is probably Stardew Valley, if I'm being honest. But I have really enjoyed like Friends of Mineral Town and more Friends of Mineral Town. And A Wonderful Life has been the one that that I've been most interested in, because I know that it's like a little bit more melancholic than the rest. It's a little bit more somber, and I think it's like exploring some stuff that I think definitely informed the writing style of Stardew Valley, where like
Yes.
the character of Shane in Stardew Valley feels like a Wonderful Life character. And that like I think a lot of these life sim, town, farm sim games have this appeal of like there's a little bit of like a grounded Alice in Wonderland story happening, where it's like the player and the player character are both coming from somewhere else, and they are promised this like simpler life that's like cozy and nice and is different from what they're used to. What's really wonderful about A Wonderful Life, God, is that everyone in the town has also come from somewhere else, and they all reference where they came from and why they are here now in Forget-Me-Not Valley. And just that little decision, I think, completely changes the tone and the feel of that game versus even other Harvest Moon games. Still pretty early on, and obviously I'll have more to say probably in our GameCube episode and maybe another episode. And then the other one that's also kind of a total non sequitur is Stranger Paradise. I just gotta know. I just like, I'm such a big Final Fantasy fan, and that game had such a bizarre lead up.
Yeah.
And the most confounding thing is that everyone I know who has played a significant amount of it actually loves it. Like there's like a reverence for that game beyond just how funny and memeable it was, you know? And I want to see where I land. I want to see if I am like a Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin believer or not. You know, am I with Jack or am I with Chaos, basically?
Honestly,
what I want to find out.
It's so weird that you say that, because I've really felt the pull to play Stranger of Paradise recently as well.
Yeah.
Like I went to go boot it up on PlayStation recently, because I was like, oh, I have it down. How did I buy it without thinking about it? And I forgot it was just the demo. I don't have the full game. And then I hovered over the buy button for a little bit, and I was like, do I do it? Do I buy Stranger of Paradise? I did not.
I bought it.
But I
was waiting. I did what you did with Kakarot, where I was like, once this is $20,
yeah,
I will get it without hesitation.
Yes.
And it sure was $20 recently, and I got it without hesitation.
Okay.
So I will report back on that at some point, but those are like the weird ones. But obviously I want to finish the games I mentioned earlier. Unicorn Overlord, I like totally binged and definitely want to see through.
Yeah.
But I'm also excited to play more of the Playdate. You mentioned a game a few episodes ago called Bloom that I'm excited to play. So
I love Bloom so much. Yeah, I've been waiting to bring that one to the show for you to play it. It's one that you check in with daily. So honestly, like having time off will be a good time to get that into your schedule.
Totally. So that's mostly my bizarre collage. I want to hear what you are excited to play in our time off.
Yeah, I think, people who listen to Into the Aether might be sick of hearing me say these couple of games in a row again, but I'm right at the end of Persona 3 Reload. I have to see the end of it. I have to. I should also mention that Complete Sicko Mode started playing Persona 3 Portable with the femme protagonist as well.
Yes.
That game is also great.
It's a distinctly different energy too, for many reasons.
Yes.
I think there is a version of like playing those games alongside each other that actually works. So there's an experience there that may be worth it.
Yeah.
If you don't want to play them back to back.
I think that if I had decided to play both of them simultaneously, like from the beginning, I would have burnt out on both. But I think the fact that I'm in like literally the last maybe 2 hours of Persona 3 Reload and at the beginning of Portable kind of gives me a little bit of like a what if scenario that I can play through, where it's like I'll see the end of the game and also simultaneously get to like jump into this alternate reality. I think that timing is going to work out really well. And if I burn out on Portable, that'll be okay. I'll have that save file. I can pick it up eventually.
Yeah. I have finished Fez, so I know how it ends, and I've said it before, but I think that is a game that really like comes fully together in its finale.
Yeah.
I'm not really a person who thinks you need to beat every game to say you fully experienced it. But there are a few games where I'm like, you should roll credits, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for you to get there. I don't even feel that way about 4 and 5. I think you can play the first Palace of 5 and say you played the game. I love what follows, but like, it's kind of that again for a long time. You know, there are more characters. There's more.
Weirdly agree with you. Yeah.
It's and this is a separate discussion, but I think that first palace in Persona 5, to me, no other palace hit the same highs because like they build up to that specific villain in such a personal
It's so personal.
way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas the other villains are a little bit more like, the world will be mine, or like, I'm the guy who works for the guy who said the world will be mine. So, but anyway, I'm very excited for you to finish Persona 3 because I know you've been loving it.
Yeah.
That's a very special game.
It's so good. And then as soon as that's done, it's back to Hawaii with Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which is
baby.
like, I can't overstate how good that game is. And I am just like dying to go back to it. Those are
I'm kind of glad we waited for summer though, because there are some horror games where we wait for October, and I'm kind of glad we waited for summer for Infinite Wealth because it feels like the time to play it.
The thing about both of those games, 3 Reload and Infinite Wealth, is that they're both really great for remote play or like wireless play also. So like Persona 3 Reload, I've talked about on the show. Like I would play it on my Xbox and I would jump onto. I have the iNode 2, and I would like play that with remote play. Same thing with Infinite Wealth. Like that feels really good. Whether it be handheld or on the TV, which is really nice, which kind of makes it easier, I think, to get through those games because both of them are like 100 hours almost. But beyond those two, which I think are like kind of the top tier for me of things that I'm like going to finish during the break, I got to finish Animal Well. I love it dearly, and I need to know more. I got to finish Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. I love it dearly, and I need to know more. And that leaves me open to new stuff, which I think is kind of fun. There are a couple of games I've downloaded on the Switch recently that I have not even started playing, which is wild. Little Kitty Big City, I've been meaning to jump into. Yeah. I've heard good things about it, and I want to check it out. There's another game called 1,000 Times Resist that AJ...
That's been compared to 13 Sentinels a lot, which piques my interest.
AJ, our producer, played it on stream, and I purposefully did not watch that stream. Sorry, AJ, because I didn't want to be spoiled on it at all, but I just downloaded it when they said it was good, so I'm excited about that. And kind of a weirder curveball, a game that I downloaded and didn't even start or bring to the show is Princess Peach Showtime, which I'm just like excited to dip into and see if I don't know, feel differently than I think most people about that game.
Yeah. I heard very little about it. I know it's like, all I know is that it's specifically for like a younger audience, which, you know, all Nintendo stuff is to a degree.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see what your thoughts are.
Another Nintendo game that I downloaded that didn't get a good reception, and I feel like I might end up being the weird outlier sicko about, is Endless Ocean Luminous, which is a sequel to a game from the Nintendo Wii and another game from the Nintendo Wii U. Or maybe the 3DS. I forget which system the second one came out on, but it's literally...
It was the year of Luigi.
It was the year of Luigi. Who remembers? Not even Luigi. But it's a game where you're a scuba diver and you swim around and look at fish. And I don't know. That sounds fun and good. And two more that I'll shout out. One that you have played and one that you haven't, and I forget which one is which. Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, you did play?
I did play. It's a great game. Yeah.
Yes, downloaded it, haven't started it. You brought it to the show, I think around GOTY last year, and I downloaded it and I'm excited about it. And another one that in GOTY AJ brought and I downloaded, and then I just have been hearing pop up every once in a while from people who like have great taste, is in Stars in Time.
Yeah, that's been on my wish list for a while. I hear great things too.
All of these games are just sitting on my Switch downloaded, and I haven't played any of them. And I'm really just like excited to have the time to dip into them. Maybe they'll come back on the show, you know, when we're back from break, and maybe they won't, which honestly is also refreshing in some ways to have a game that's just for me a little bit.
Yeah, like a big secret.
Yeah,
I feel like I like jump scared you bringing up Just Cause today at today's recording. You're like, you've never talked to me about Just Cause. You played Just Cause.
Yeah.
Like we're starting. It feels exciting when we casually reveal to the other that there's a game that one of us has played that we haven't talked about.
Yeah,
you know,
totally. And now I'm looking at my backlog list, and it's a nightmare. There's so much.
Is Star Fox 2 in there?
Star Fox 2 is not in there, but I'll add it.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, just one last one that I'm thinking about all the time is Batman Arkham Origins, which is the one Arkham game that's not by Rocksteady. I just keep meaning to play it, and I haven't done it yet. I'm such a huge Batman fan, and just feels like something I got to do. That's just kind of a weird shout out, but It's the one that I was drawn to at the moment. But yeah,
the biggest threat, like the looming villain of this specific episode, is that we both end up playing Skyrim all summer. Like that's like I worry about
always
that.
Skyrim. Yeah,
It's always Skyrim. I've gone the longest because usually I end up like every year there's like a Skyrim month where I just end up playing too much Skyrim again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's so many new experiences. It's like when you put on Seinfeld in the background. It's like, it's great, but like you can watch a new show, Steven, you know?
One of the games that you and I have been talking about on Into the Aether recently is Void Stranger. And I just think there's like a world in which I am just like profusely sweating, no air conditioner on, just like grinding through floors of Void Stranger, like just getting so overwhelmed with Void Stranger that all I do is sit in my house. I don't leave at all, and I just play Void Stranger. I lose my job. I lose everyone in my life. I'm just like sucked into that game.
It does feel cursed in that way, but that is definitely on my backlog as well. I'm almost as afraid to say it, like the Scottish play or something. So you can't say Void Stranger.
But yeah, those are the ones that come to mind at the moment. There's a bunch of other stuff that's like kind of floating around, a bunch of like emulation stuff, but that's it. That's really what's sticking out to me for now.
It's a fun preview of what could be when we come back to do the show. And also I'm just excited to have these experiences with these games.
Yeah. Oh, and floating above all of this is the entire GameCube library. So we'll talk to you when we have played through that also.
Billy Hatcher time, baby. Let's hatch.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Have a good summer.